Welcome to Esalen Live, where we chat with change agents and swim deep waters in an ongoing exploration of human potential. I'm your host, Christine Chen. Welcome. Things are changing minute by minute, it seems, and we're all doing our best to move with life. Joining us on Esalen Live today is Zuza Engler. We're so pleased to have her. She is a longtime gestalt and movement guide. She has an upcoming workshop to help us feel a little bit more flexible and full of some more tools for today's changes. So, welcome to Zuza Engler. Thank you for joining us, Zuza.
Mhm. Thank you, Christine. What a wonderful intro.
Yeah, well, you deserve it. Absolutely. We have some people joining us here on Nestlin Live. If you're joining live, have questions for Zuza, please float them into the chat. And also, we would love to know, how do you find stillness in the swirl that is life today? Share it with us in the chat. So, Zuza, I'd like to start by just asking you about this healing moment that we would love to experience in the midst of
Mhm.
everything. Tell us a little bit about what you're
Mhm.
going through personally while all the things are changing.
Well, being a teacher of groups for 20 years, when we met in person and had beautiful opportunities to connect and be with each other and really heal each other, um, I've been going through quite a roller coaster with the current situation where we moved entirely online. And
Mhm.
actually, in the middle of the pandemic year, last year, when there was nothing else we could do, we started offering workshops in nature, which we had built into live workshops before, but kind of just like 3 hours at a time or a day at a time.
Mhm.
Um, this time we were doing these 1 or 2 day beach events. Uh, it was such an incredible resource for people. First of all, we could be together at the safe distance in fresh air. People could move together, but also nature was such an incredible context for holding all of it, all of the um, incredible changes that everybody's been going through.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the kind of
And
container.
then, sorry, and many people alone at home.
Yeah,
That someone
absolutely.
said to me that when you said my name on Zoom the other day, it was the first time someone said my name in 6 weeks.
Isn't that
I,
amazing? It's
I,
amazing what we've been through, right? And we're actually the fortunate ones to be able to sit here and talk about healing at this time. You mentioned movement in nature. Why is movement just a key part of the healing journey? And some would say just, moving through it is not sitting with it. So where do we find sort of the balance of both?
oh, I think both are necessary. I'm a lover of both. Actually, it's not very common a common combination, because I know many meditators who will say, "I'm not a dancer. I'm not going to move," and then dancers like, "I can't sit still. I'm a mover." But I think we need both um, ways of being with experience to really deepen and open to everything that life is throwing at us.
Right. If
In
you're
in
joining us,
this
go ahead.
I'm sorry, in this time, particularly for me, movement has been more helpful, actually,
Mm,
because it's so easy with the amount of uncertainty in the world and the unknown and the changes and bad news on the news every day. It's easy to kind of collapse and freeze and actually stop breathing, like not literally, but almost. And we
mm,
need the breath right now. We really need a lot of breath. So
mm.
movement has been my salvation.
Yeah. Mine too, right? Just the practice of moving through
Mm-hmm.
life and being able to
Yes.
breathe well and in your own body at the same time. Joining us on Esalen Live is Zuza Engler. She's a longtime Gestalt and movement guide and also practicing Buddhist as well. So if you have a way that you like to find stillness, is it movement on the way to stillness, or is it
Mm-hmm.
stillness so that you can move? Please share it with us in the chat. Is it stillness or a movement that helps you find stability and makes you feel in your
Mm-hmm.
body? We would love to know. And if what Zuza is sharing with us is really resonating with you today, please give her a little bit of love. on the chat. You've got someone joining from Ecuador. Thank you so much, Carlos. Zuza, let me ask you, what is the essential principle of gestalt? Is this an embodiment practice of really being in your body? Can you share more with us?
I think for me, the main contribution and gift of Gestalt is the question, how now? How now? That invites me to drop into the actual experience I'm having, not what it is, not why I'm experiencing this, not how to fix it, certainly, but how. Um, and combined with movement, it's a shortcut to what's actually true, to the living truth of the moment, uh, to the sensing, feeling, expressive body that we forget in all these important things we have to do and deal with, and from homeschooling to just getting groceries. How now?
Hmm. What is in this is the essential principle. So how do we apply it to moving through life today?
Well, everything that comes at us in life is unworkable. These days, it feels unworkable anyway. If we try to work with it in the mind, it's really a doomed proposition. Uh, the mind is great for solving immediate problems and categorizing things and putting them on the shelf. Uh, but it's also great. It's a Velcro to negativity, right?
Mm,
So all the bad news stick, all the good news, the mind is a Teflon too. But in the body, we can experience nourishment, um, actual presence, some sense of space. And my Buddhist teacher, actually, I studied Buddhism through movement. I lived at a Tibetan Buddhist center where movement meditation was the portal into awareness. And our teacher used to say, no one moment of experience is unbearable. Right? So if I can drop into this moment, I can be here and hopefully stay semi-sane. If those moments start piling on top of each other, it's like too much, and the mind
mm,
just goes to the negative. It's
yeah.
just how it's built.
I really
So,
like that
so
you broke that down into pieces where it's just one moment that you're dealing with, and that to not take it as it's an enormous thing that we have to tackle all at once, right? When you talk about movement and the way that you experience this, there's some kind of mystery for a lot of us, me
mhm,
included, and maybe you still, because
yes.
we're always beginners, right? So there's some sort of mystery of like, how does our journey start to move in this direction when we just do this? Can you explain that a little bit? This mystery.
Mystery is a good thing, actually.
Yeah.
Mystery, the simplest way I understand it, the word is what the mind cannot grasp. And this whole big experience of life, all the sensations, the pressure, the texture, the squeezing, the opening inside, the movement of breath, the contact with
Mm,
the ground, there's nothing to understand, right? But when we drop into it, it's like, wow, there's a lot going on there, right?
mm,
Yeah, like in this picture, the light of awareness coming into the um, human body, which may appear dark and kind of impenetrable.
mm,
But if I have the patience to hang out here, and if you're listening right now, and you could just move just a little bit, maybe in your seat, just side to side, shifting weight and allowing the spine to free up a little bit. It's like, wow, there's a lot going on there that most of the time we're not paying any attention to. And
mm.
it can be such a sweet moment of contacts. And it's the contact that opens up the door to the mystery.
Wow.
I've had this experience over and over this last year where, COVID and lockdown and horrible news from all over. I was fortunate enough to be well, and my people were well. but the mind wasn't well, right? It's all too scary and too crazy. But every time I dropped in, and just to feel one breath and that little movement in the spine, and the look out, and there's still the sky. It was like, oh, in this moment, I am well. I can be here. And then the
Mm.
mind, it's a total schizophrenic experience. A split person. Here,
Yeah.
well, there, wow.
That movement also for me is, and I think for a lot of people at home, you might agree with this, like to move in your own body helps you be in your reality, right? This is like a real life versus all the things that make our mind go to these endless, unimaginable places. So you mentioned the idea of all these things working together. So I want to bring this up. This is your graphic of how your offering works together in moving with life, a combination of a lot of things. Can you share what's so important about this combination? And Cindy sends you a little bit of a heart, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Um, yes, you can see the bright circles, movement, inner work, and spiritual practice. They overlap, and this is not a new idea. The people have always done this work with some degree of overlap. Often in movement, for example, a lot of unfinished material, emotional material comes up. Anyway,
Right.
for me, for some people, it does. So then, inner work is where we go to work with that. Like whatever cannot be resolved in movement, maybe needs to be talked about or specifically addressed. But
Mm.
if the spiritual part is left out, then we just have human drama, which is
Mm.
interesting, captivating, and endless.
Yeah.
But the context that spiritual practice gives it is super helpful to be able to hold the fact that we're not just the body, we're not just spirit, we're some kind of mysterious meeting of spirit and soul and the human animal complexity.
Yeah.
And then it's really important that we do this work together. So that's what I noticed over the years, that I can do this on my own, but when we do it in community, the potency of the work is increases very quickly. And then not just the human community, so that's the next circle, big circle. It's the human, non-human, natural, universal world of our earthly existence here.
Mm.
And then, of course, the biggest circle is the presence of something that I'm not even going to try to name, that's holding that's holding us here. You know, some
Mm.
people call it God. Some people find that offensive. Some people call it the great heart of mercy, or
The
um,
divine,
the
the
divine, the big
the
sky,
cosmos,
yeah,
many
the
names,
spirit,
and
the source, whatever works for you. But there's something going on here that
right.
we are held and nourished by.
Right. And we accept all of it, right? We embrace all of it, whatever it works for you in that outer realm that we just saw. If what
Absolutely.
if what Zuza says is resonating with you and you want to show her some appreciation, send her a little heart or a thumbs up in the chat and just let us know a little bit about what you're experiencing as you hear these things, or maybe an experience you've had in your past. And if you have any questions, of course, you got a couple minutes left to talk to Zuza. What happens when we try to practice these things? Because this seems like, we just talked about taking it one step at a time, and then I see this big graphic with all
Mhm.
the things. I'm like, this is
Yes.
like, wow, I can't do all of these things at once, but where do we start? Do we start at the place that feels the least developed?
No, I would start at the place that's most accessible. The easiest
Oh.
thing, yeah, the
Hmm.
simplest, gentlest step that anyone can take.
And
Um,
what was that for you? What was the gentlest step for you to begin this journey?
for me, it was movement. I,
Mm.
I I signed up for a sensory awareness 3-week class in Denmark in the early '80s. It's ridiculous how long ago that was. I had no idea what I was going to experience. And the teacher would say, so go inside and feel the sensations in your belly. And I'm like, what? Where is that inside? Like, where's that? And I'm not feeling anything. Right? But then she would put some music on and we would start shaking. Shaking is a very simple, accessible, um, and popular in the animal kingdom way of releasing trauma and releasing
Mm.
energy flow in the body, right? So just a little shaking, just a little wiggling in the tail. And it's like, oh, I'm feeling something.
Mm.
And then, of course, more movement, more memories, more feelings came. Um, a lot of spiritual teaching and practice put it all into context. But see what's easy for you. I mean, if you're a feeling person, next time you experience like a wave of joy, ride it further to the shore. Or a wave of sadness, maybe you can find a way to allow it, despite all the conditioning that we have in
Mm.
this culture to stuff it and keep smiling. Just
Yeah.
allow whatever is easy and follow that.
So, Zuza, Laura has a beautiful comment here. She said, sometimes when I am processing, I don't want to move. It feels like stillness is what I need. This invites me to look at it differently. And that's so valid. And it's in the opposite, it's valid as well. Can you speak to that? Thanks, Laura.
Yes, that's why this process is not linear actually, and I'm not saying there's one way to do it. It's kind of like a spiral around this map. Um, I know that sometimes movement can be an escape. Also, expression can be an escape. For those of us who are conditioned to always go with the expression, sitting still seems impossible, but it's really
Mm,
an incredible intervention to actually allow life to move through me without having to do anything about it,
right. And
or to
so,
allow the process to move through me, like Laura was talking about, without managing it or trying to guide it anywhere. Just opening. Yeah.
yeah. Well, when we looked at that before, this ring of nature, you mentioned it several times, is one of the ways that we can connect and one of the ways that we can practice this. And you and Scott, there's lovely Scott, have an upcoming workshop in the land of Esalen that's coming up on August 27th through 29th, called The Luminescent Body, Moving Like the Ocean, Sitting Like a Mountain. Tell us a little bit about this workshop. I imagine many of the things that we talked about will be integrated as practices in this workshop.
Yes, of course, the work I presented just now is more material for like a year-long program, which we also offer. But we will take pieces of it that are accessible and gentle, and weave them through the weekend to allow
Mm,
space for people to make a little more room for what's been not allowed entry for these
mm,
last 18 months or however long for you. Um, and just propose some ways of being with experience that are a little less constricted or um, painful, really. And part of it's just the moving with nature. It seems like anybody can do that. Like even if people say, "Oh, I don't know how to dance," and we ask them, "Well, how about you move like an ocean wave?" And they go, "Hmm." Hmm. And at Esalen, there's so much inspiration: the garden, the
there.
ocean, the mountain, the hot springs, the creek.
It's so
So
true. So true. Sherry says she loves the title of the workshop. I'll put it up again. And then Will Bacon says, my wife and I were at Esalen. They were in the Enneagram weekend and talking about the mystery that you are talking about right now. So please check out the luminescent
mm,
body. Go to Esalen and move like the ocean, sit like a mountain. It's also good for you. I love what you said
mm,
about the dog just shaking it off because I have a dog and something weird, like I think I might accidentally hit her with a ball or whatever, and she'll just shake it off.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a good little punctuation mark there.
Yeah, the dog goes like this, and we go like, oh, like this.
Right. We have to learn more from nature, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Zuza Engler. Thank you, everyone, for your input, joining us live. And please share this recording with those you think will benefit from this. One of the reasons we do this Esalen Live and keep the recording up is so that people, if you cannot make it to Esalen or you have friends who just thinking about it, you can share this content with them and give them a bit of Esalen and the expertise of people like Zuza Engler at home and anywhere you are. Have a beautiful day, Zuza. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Thank you, Christine, and thank you, everyone.